Hate crimes, on-set deaths, and devastating family tragedies, The Boys gets into some pretty bleak stuff, but off-screen, the cast has faced a lot of real-life darkness, too. Keep watching as we take you through the true, tragic details about the cast of The Boys. Newcomer Jack Quaid is adept at playing the bereaved Huey on The Boys. Much like the vengeance-seeking anti-hero he depicts, Quaid has endured his share of hardship. The son of Hollywood A-listers Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid, Jack was just 8 when his parents called it quits, leading to a toxic media frenzy around the couple's separation. The divorce was hard on Jack, but being subjected to the less-than-savory tabloid headlines made the experience all the more painful. He shared on the Allegedly podcast, "It's kind of hard to ignore when you're at a grocery store and you're like checking out and, those People and In Touch magazines on the side, and you look at them and there's a photo of them with a little paper rip thing. It's a hard deal." His parents' divorce was exacerbated by gossip that his mom was having an affair with Russell Crowe. Speaking to Oprah Winfrey, Ryan admitted to the dalliance, but said that her marriage to Dennis was, quote, "very unhealthy and should have ended years earlier anyway."
It was never about another man. It was only about what my and Dennis's relationship just couldn't sustain.
In addition to his difficulties dealing with the public aftermath of his parents' split, Jack has also opened up about his struggles with anxiety. He told Project You Are Okay, "I've always been slightly more anxious than your average Joe. I remember freshman year of college, I started having panic attacks." He said that having someone to talk to was paramount in coping with his anxiety disorder. New Zealand actor Antony Starr portrays the seemingly innocuous and upstanding Homelander on The Boys. However, Homelander is skilled at hiding his diabolical persona from those around him. Secretly, he engages in the most nefarious villainy. Starr plays Homelander with aplomb, perhaps because he's found himself on the wrong side of the law, much like the duplicitous antagonist he embodies. In 2022, Starr was filming a movie in Spain when he was arrested by authorities. According to Variety, he was handed a suspended sentence of 12 months and fined a whopping $5,000. According to the New Zealand Herald, a drunken Starr got into a scuffle with a 21-year-old chef. The actor threw punches at the young chef and broke a glass in his face, leaving him with bloody injuries. Subsequently, the victim had to be taken to the hospital where he was given 4 stitches.
And yet, I turned out great.
Looking back on the horrific incident, Starr told the New York Times that he had made a terrible mistake, which he has since learned from. He said, "I got myself into a situation that was negative and I reacted poorly, and the way forward from that was very clear." The actor also hinted at having a drinking problem. When asked whether he would quit drinking, he replied, "I wish it was that simple. I don't know anyone that hasn't, on a personal level, got things that they want to work on." Karen Fukuhara plays the lone girl known as the female in the superhero ensemble group of The Boys. A profile in The Last magazine highlights that Fukuhara's casting in the Amazon series is pivotal to countering the racially insensitive and sexist stereotypes present in the original book series. She told the outlet regarding Hollywood's history of offensive casting tropes, "There are Asian female leads, and we're not just an assistant, a doctor, the sidekick, or the friend. I think our stories are finally getting told." Tragically, Fukuhara has been on the receiving end of anti-Asian hate. In 2022, she was assaulted by a man in a racially motivated hate crime. Recalling the horrific incident on Instagram, she said that she was minding her own business in a cafe when a man struck her head entirely out of the blue. She wrote, "What satisfaction are these perpetrators getting from hitting women, Asians, the elderly? They need to be held accountable." Her The Boys co-stars sent their love and support. The attack occurred at a time when the Stop Asian Hate initiative was gaining momentum. Speaking with In Style following the assault, Fukuhara said that she felt a duty to share her story. After reading about various anti-Asian attacks having occurred in cities all over the country, in places where she had always felt safe as an Asian woman, she was left shaken, saying, "When that happened, it was almost a cry for help." Acting vet Karl Urban is another Kiwi star who's lent his name to the impressive, ever-expanding cast of The Boys. Playing Billy Butcher, Urban has an undeniable magnetism with that devilish beard and infamous mischievous grin, even when, as his moniker suggests, he's butchering his enemies. Aside from The Boys, Urban is synonymous with the rebooted Star Trek movies. Sadly, his co-star and friend Anton Yelchin died in 2016, aged just 27. Per the Los Angeles Times, Yelchin was killed in a freak accident when he was crushed by his own car. The incident devastated Urban, who tweeted his shock when he heard the terrible news. declaring that he was, quote, hurting bad. In the aftermath of the young actor's passing, Urban spoke to Entertainment Weekly and expressed his disbelief that Yelchin could be taken so soon. He said, "He was a huge loss to our family, and I think we're all still reeling in shock. It's just still very fresh. This only happened a matter of weeks ago. We're a little floored. It's tough. We miss him terribly. He should be here." During an appearance on Today, he reflected on Yelchin's untimely death.
Such a beautiful man, and it's so difficult to think about him in the past.
A month after Yelchin's death, Urban and the rest of the Star Trek cast honored their fallen star at Comic-Con by wearing black pins. The heartthrob of every 2010s teen, Jensen Ackles wooed audiences on Supernatural. Now he's playing a decidedly different role as troubled all-American hero Soldier Boy on The Boys. In addition to his television work, Ackles has starred in a number of films, one of which would end in tragedy. In 2021, it was announced by Deadline that Ackles had been cast in the western Rust. In a tragedy that rocked Hollywood, cinematographer Helena Hutchins was killed on set when Alec Baldwin's prop gun accidentally went off. As Ackles told USA Today, the tragic shooting happened right in front of his eyes. Eerily, he was filmed at a convention just days before the fatal accident, explaining how the Rust filmmakers had taught the cast about gun safety. In an Instagram post, he revealed that he had spoken to Hutchins to praise her work shortly before she died. He wrote, "Earlier last week, I felt compelled to tell Helena just how awesome I thought she was. She laughed and said thank you and gave me a hug. I'll forever be thankful we had that moment." Ackles has since said that he struggled to come to terms with the magnitude of the cinematographer's death. Speaking with USA Today, he said the incident had given him a new perspective on life. He shared, "You don't normally witness them like I did, and it's certainly shocking and jarring. It makes you value life even more than you had." Simon Pegg's role in The Boys as Huey's dad is a delicious bit of metacasting. In fact, Huey's design in the book series was originally based on Pegg's real-life appearance. He was reportedly initially set to star in the show as Huey Jr., but was just too old to play the part by the time the series went into production. Prior to his work in the cast of The Boys, Pegg was famed for his lead role in the 3 movies of Edgar Wright's so-called Cornetto trilogy, which included Zom rom-com, Shaun of the Dead, cop movie parody Hot Fuzz, and sci-fi body snatcher pick The World's End. On the outside, the actor's life seemed like every Brit fanboy's dream come true. The self-styled nerd was making movies with BFF Nick Frost and gaining stardom and recognition for it to boot. But the truth is, Pegg was all the while grappling with some debilitating demons. Due to the stigma surrounding mental illness and addiction, he tried at great lengths to hide these issues from the public. Speaking with The Guardian, Pegg revealed that he struggled with depression for years. He said, "I would feel like I'm in a film with Tom Cruise. I've got the part of Scotty in Star Trek. This should be making me feel happy, but it wasn't." Accordingly, he began self-medicating with alcohol. In an interview with The Times, he explained that he appeared well on the outside, but was secretly very ill. He added, "It's a very private hell that you're in. You're trying to look okay to other people, whereas really you're clearly not well and you're very sad." Following rehab, Pegg is now in recovery. Elisabeth Shue is one of several acting vets on The Boys. She's renowned for playing affable characters in family films such as The Karate Kid, and for breaking our hearts in tearjerkers like Leaving Las Vegas. However, in the Amazon hit series, she has taken on the role of unscrupulous businesswoman Madeline. Shue plays the part with relish, but a cold, unfeeling corporate suit couldn't be further from her off-screen persona. Unfortunately, Shue's life has been blighted by grief. In 1988, her brother, soccer player William, died aged just 26 after falling from a tree, per the Los Angeles Times. Shue appeared in the 2007 film Gracie, which was directed by her husband, David Guggenheim, and based on her own recollections of being a teen soccer prodigy. Primarily, the film deals with that actor's experiences of grief. Shue shared, "The heart of the movie is that his passing away really is what has changed our lives, and in some ways has been one of the most painful gifts that we could have ever been allowed to have." According to The Morning Call, Shue was present when her brother had the catastrophic accident. Discussing her loss with the Chicago Tribune, Shue said that she struggles to cope with William's death all these decades later, though his memory remains with her. She added, "It's still very emotional, yet I am starting to realize that even though it's going to be emotional for me forever, Will's spirit lives on." playing the shady businessman Stan, an associate of Madeline, Giancarlo Esposito is adept at depicting mysterious characters who harbor sketchy pasts. The actor is probably most famous for his role as the terrifyingly stoic Gus Fring on Breaking Bad.
You are done.
In 2017, he directed the satirical film The Show, which deals with the controversial topic of on-air suicides on a reality show. It turns out that the project resonated with the actor on a profoundly personal level. The specter of suicide has haunted Esposito throughout his life. He told the Daily Beast, revealing that he himself had struggled with suicidal ideation. My mother tried to commit suicide once, my uncle committed suicide. I do have some knowledge of depression and where that could lead to. When the film was released, he faced a hefty amount of censure, with critics arguing that the director's depiction of suicide was unrealistic. This upset Esposito since these scenes were based on his own experiences. In an interview with The Frame, he opened up about this dark period in his life. He explained, "I was completely bankrupt and losing my home. My office was in my living room. I couldn't get a job. I had my 4th daughter and I was completely shattered." After reading the book Who Moved My Cheese, his outlook changed and he was suddenly filled with hope, realizing that he could provide for his family without taking any potentially devastating steps. In recent years, Haley Joel Osment, once synonymous with the refrain "I see dead people," has had a career resurgence, appearing on The Kaminsky Method and The Boys. The latter sees him play the duplicitous Mesmer, who is both a friend and a foe to the motley crew of eponymous anti-heroes. Being a former child actor, Osment is skilled at playing dual roles, much like his on-screen alter ego on the Amazon series. Fans of The Sixth Sense viewed Osment as nothing more than the cherubic little boy who shadowed Bruce Willis, but his life away from the spotlight sadly mirrored a trajectory often expected from former child actors. In 2006, he was injured in a car crash while driving under the influence. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, he was hospitalized after breaking his ribs and damaging his shoulder. Subsequently, he was charged with marijuana possession and driving under the influence. After pleading no contest, he was forced to undergo drug and alcohol rehabilitation and given 3 years probation. Speaking with The Guardian, Osment said that the DUI was a, quote, terrible mistake and emphasized that he's since recovered from this darkness. Reflecting on his younger self, he dismissed the notion that the life of a former child star ought to be blighted by misfortune. He said, "I'm lucky to have a positive relationship with those periods that can sometimes be difficult for other people."
I just want to know you don't hate me.
Jim Beaver plays U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Singer, which, in a nice bit of The Boys' Easter egging, is also the name of his character in Supernatural. Despite his stoic on-screen persona, his life has been shrouded in tragedy. In 1989, he married actor and casting director Cicely Adams, and they welcomed daughter Madeline Rose in 2001, per MyHeritage. But just 3 years later, Adams was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she died within months, as reported by Variety. She was 46. Beaver was then left to raise his bereaved 3-year-old daughter on his own. Beaver chronicled his grief in the memoir Life's That Way, in which he revealed that his wife was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer just 6 weeks after Madeline was diagnosed with autism. Beaver wrote in one particularly devastating passage, "With all the thousands upon thousands of people suffering from this disease, how can I find her pain and mine so surprising? The only answer I can conjure is that a kind providence keeps us blind to the intensity of suffering, so as to keep us sane until that day when the suffering is our own or that of someone we love beyond imagining." Tragically, his 16-year-old niece was also diagnosed with cancer. He told The Hollywood Reporter in 2017, "It's a terrifying time for us as a family." 2 years later, Beaver tweeted that his niece had died on Christmas Day, aged just 18. Following his Season 1 cameo as himself, Billy Zane returned to the cast of The Boys in Season 3. The former A-lister is a surprising addition to the series, purposely chewing the scenery via his comically cheesy movie roles. Chase Crawford told Digital Spy that he was delighted to work with Zane, who's most famous for his role in Titanic. Sadly, Zane's personal struggles aren't as frivolous as his self-deprecating Boys alter ego suggests. The coronavirus has claimed millions of lives the world over. As a result, Zane confessed that the pandemic had left him with survivor's remorse, since he hadn't lost any family members to the deadly virus. He told Page 6 in May 2020, "It does not have to directly touch my family or friends for it to affect me. It doesn't have to be my blood that moves me every day." In a cruel irony, the virus did eventually hit home. Just 1 month after Zane made the admission, his father died of COVID-19. Subsequently, he made an impassioned plea on Instagram for people to protect one another, highlighting the vulnerability of the elderly in particular. He wrote in the moving post, accompanied by a photo of his late father, "Youth, the elderly are at risk, and so is society, as thus your stewards are at risk. Should we lose all our teachers, our sages, our crones, our storytellers? Learn from every tragedy and mistake and thrive in comforting knowledge that you acted." While The Boys is essentially a satire of the superhero genre, it has at times delved into more weighty subject matter. In Season 2, the series addressed systemic racism by introducing the character Valerie, a black woman whose brother was subjected to racist police brutality. Entertainment Weekly hailed the storyline as the series' quote, gutsiest season yet. TV mainstay Dawnn Lewis of A Different World fame played Valerie with a distinct poignancy. This emotional performance was in part inspired by her lived experiences with violence at the hands of the police. But in Lewis's case, the police officer was her own father. Lewis is a domestic violence survivor, having been abused by her father. As reported by Easton Courier, she spoke about her experiences at the Center for Family Justice's Speaking of Women fundraiser in 2021. The actor explained that since her dad was a cop, asking the police for support proved near impossible. She said, "My mother went to the police several times and said, 'This is what's happening in my home.'" According to the Los Angeles Sentinel, one day her mom left the family home, leaving Lewis and her brothers with their violent father. "My mom had to leave myself and my brothers for a time in order to save herself, then get herself back together to a point where she could come back and get us." The actor added that empowerment and self-love were central to her surviving the trauma. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic abuse, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also find more information, resources, and support at their website.